Hi, bed crimers. I am here with a little bed crime bite. I wanted to share new police body cam footage from a traffic stop with suspect Bryan Kohberger. Now, I believe this is the October 14th of 2022 traffic stop when Kohberger was detained as part of a stop by a Washington State University police officer. And in the affidavit for Kohberger's arrest, it said that upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, they determined that Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ 8649. It is thanks to this traffic stop and an earlier one on August 21st of 2022 when Kohberger was stopped in Moscow, Idaho, that the police were able to track down Kohberger's phone number so that they could get the phone records and data from the night of Saturday, November 12th into the early morning hours of November 13th, the morning of the crime. What I find very interesting in this police footage, and also from the earlier police cam footage from the stop when he was with his father, is that Kohberger has a tendency to use the word actually. He repeats it quite often. And I think what's also interesting is the way his eyes look. I'm sorry, I do find his eyes scary. You know, maybe I know too much about the crime and I'm thinking he's likely the perpetrator, but they do look scary to me. The other thing I noticed is that when the female officer turns to go run his records, he turns around and he looks her up and down and sort of watches her walk away. Now, I divided the police cam footage into two parts because there's a lot of wasted time where the officer is looking at a chart of offenses. So watch until the end so that you can see both pieces of the body cam footage and hear what Bryan Kohberger has to say, look at his face, notice his voice, watch the way his mouth kind of works. It's very interesting. See you tomorrow.
So would you explain that to me a little bit further? So in Pennsylvania, when you're stuck like in their intersection, you have to make the left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done been? Just
You're
back up
not
in
supposed
that
to
situation?
block an intersection like that in Washington, so just by you blocking the intersection, that's technically a ticketable violation, and then you're running a red light, so it's another ticketable offense. So you're not supposed to proceed into the intersection until you can go, because a lot of people do what you just did, right? Is like you're sitting in the intersection waiting, and then turns, and then you're blocking, so.
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn. So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
Oh.
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, like right before I made the turn, there was someone who like made a right. They didn't have their signal on, so I wasn't sure if they were just waiting.
Yeah, so I would just advise just don't enter the intersection until you can go, so you don't get stuck. Let's see.
But in that situation, the best thing to do then would be back up and not.
I don't know if there's a best thing to do in that situation, because you're either going to back up into somebody or you're going to run a red light. So, or you're going to be sitting in an intersection.
Yeah.
There's not really a great option there.
Yeah, I was just slightly into the crosswalk, so where I'm from Pennsylvania, we actually don't have like crosswalks.
Oh,
so even if you're kind of slightly, there's a little bit more leeway as well. Like there are a few lines, like there's one white line and there's another one in front. Like there's like a certain margin from which you can actually kind of put your vehicle, place your vehicle.
Yeah. So I know laws vary state to state, but there is a law in Washington for blocking an intersection like that, proceeding through when you don't when you're just stalling. I forget the actual verbiage. I can find it for you, but it's like stalling, blocking an intersection.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the law. I don't mean to.
Oh no, yeah, I can
not,
find
like,
it for you.
disagreeing with
Yeah.
anything. But,
1 second. That looks good on a Hyundai. I don't see Pennsylvania registration like at all. Okay, let's see. Expires November 22nd, or 2022. Okay. And
yeah, one of those is actually.
yeah, okay, that looks good. I'll hand that back to you. I'm just gonna go check your info. I'll try to find that RCW, the law for you, and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right. Sierra 331, code 4 driver.
Go ahead.
Last of Kohberger, King, Ocean, Henry, Boy, Edward, Robert, George, Edward, Robert. First of Bryan, Boy, Robert, Young, Adam, Nora. Middle C, Charles. Date of birth 112194, Mount Washington. Okay, so I found it. So I don't know what in Pennsylvania where you go to find laws, but in Washington it's called the Revised Code of Washington. So I'll try to turn my brightness up, but it's basically it's just called an RCW. So it's RCW 46.61.202. So it's no driver shall enter an intersection unless there is significant space on the other side of the intersection. To accommodate the vehicle he is operating without obstructing the passage of other vehicles, despite any traffic control signal indications to proceed. So you had a green light, so you're thinking you can go, but you're blocking the intersection.
Yeah.
So that's, if you're ever curious in any laws in Washington, just Revised Code of Washington. So I'm not writing a ticket or anything like that today. I understand you're from Pennsylvania, but in the future, don't proceed through the intersection. You can't get stopped for that alone, unless you can clearly just clear it right away.
Okay.
So,
So that basically, I understand.
you're just supposed to wait behind the white line. Drivers do it all the time,
It
but
never even occurred to me that that was actually something wrong. But
yeah.
well, except for the fact that I was blocking the crosswalk, which is what
Yeah.
I went through.
And states vary a lot from laws. Like Pennsylvania might not even have that law, but in Washington we do.
I'm actually just from a very rural area, so we just don't have crosswalks.
Oh,
Unless I visit an area where there are
Gotcha.
crosswalks, and then it's not very frequent.
yeah.
Yeah, I do apologize if I was asking you too many questions about the law. I wasn't trying to
No, not at
disagree
all.
with
Like I
you.
understand you're not from here, so if you don't, a lot of people don't know a bunch of laws. Like I only know it because this is what I do. But yeah, if you're ever curious on any more laws, just RCW, and they can be hard to read because it's in like legal language. But hope that helps.
Definitely,
Yeah, have a good day.
definitely you too.
Thanks.